this is a landmark. Everybody comes here every weekend, from Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They take pictures, do videos. So this has been tagged a no drive-by zone, a no fight zone, a no, all the hoods are respecting this area. Well, I've been a photojournalist per se for about 15 years now. And the areas I started at was Compton, and I moved over to Watts and then South LA. I didn't move over to video until, I got a mass shooting at Washington Preparatory High School, in which 7 or more people were shot at a football game. And I showed one lady the tape, and she had just so happened to work for the news stations. And she said, hey, you know what? Let's try to get that footage for me. How much do you want for it? I go, hey, what do you mean? I just want to help, the families find out their loved ones are in the hospital. What do you mean? What money? I do a little still shots here and there, but I never thought video would translate into, $150 per station. So I ended up making 1 copy, 2 copies, 3 copies, 4 copies, 5, 6, all the way up to 7 copies for the networks. And they all gave me their cards, and I ended up invoicing each network and get my money through the mail. It wasn't until then I decided to get a scanner and take it a lot more seriously.
Okay, so I've been a stringer about 21 years now. Started back about 2000 or so. I've been a photographer for doing stills for local newspapers and that kind of, for local fire department magazines and the fire department. So I met one of the gentlemen, his name was John Talent, and we started talking about what he was doing, and over time, us running into each other, I got more and more interested in what it was. And when I got the opportunity to come on, the bug hit me really fast. I mean, it was the adrenaline rush, everything about doing the whole stringing was just an amazing operation. I mean, it's just going from ups and downs throughout the night. It was like on a constant roller coaster. John eventually led me to on scene, introduced me to Rob Tuckman, and it was pretty much, Rob said, let's give him a try. He was a little nervous at first because I was a fire photographer, so he was worried that I'd be more into the fire department side of it, but he quickly found out that I enjoyed doing all of what stringing was.
Hi, I'm Rick. I've been associated with On Scene for the past 6 years. I have been shooting still photography for quite a lot longer than that, roughly 50 years. But I've been shooting video, like I said, for On Scene for about the past 6 years. When I was very young, I was in nursery school and saw, I guess if you want to say, my first big fire. That made me want to become a fireman. That was my first thought, but many kids at young ages typically want to be firemen or policemen. I kept that as a desire. As I grew older, I started chasing fire engines on my bicycle, and ended up at about the age of 10 or 11. I put a little Instamatic still camera in my backpack on my bike, as well as an 8mm movie camera, and started shooting incident scenes as I would ride around the San Fernando Valley where I grew up. My love for the fire department, or my passion for being a member of the fire department, came true to life when I was 20. I started out as an ambulance driver with the fire department, but I was also still shooting pictures and getting into it more. Around 1971, I had acquired my first Nikon still camera, and that's through meeting what ended up being a mentor of mine that worked for the Los Angeles Times, who kind of got me into it and more into the photography, more as a professional. That was just before I got hired on the job. I've been shooting for fire publications, both for city and county, as well as other publications, Firehouse, Fire Engineering, an old one that no longer exists, Fire Command, local news outlets, Daily News, LA Times, the Herald Examiner back in the day. So at this point in time, I'm still shooting as a part-time videographer for On Scene, but I'm also maintaining my still photography as well.
You got Brent, Nash, Rick, and myself as some of the senior guys out there. You've got me and Brent, who've been at it 20 plus years. You've got Nash, who's been at it probably about 15 years or so. And then you've got Rick, who's come from the fire department and was a great photographer who started shooting video for us. So it's kind of interesting to see us try to work with the new generation, I guess you would say. You've got Nathan, who came to On Scene, God, I think he was 15 or 16 when he came to On Scene and started interning with us, hanging out at the office, helping do videos and write-ups. Then as he got older, he started shooting video himself, and has become a fabulous videographer. I mean, he's really good at what he does. Jason, another guy, came on. He was pretty much just chasing for a while, and we were lucky we got him to come on. And he's another guy that's just doing a fantastic job. And then one of our latest was Jamie, and Jamie's got some good things going on with her. She's a good shooter. She's able to shoot really well. She's got a great understanding of the cameras and the workings of the camera, and she's helping open the door of showing more females getting involved with stringing and showing that they can be successful at it.
They'll either be okay with this or severely not. I guess we'll find out, huh? Whoops. Don't know what that is. That's a weird looking car. We're either gonna get yelled at or we'll be a-okay. Alright, we have arrived. So my background comes from filmmaking, it comes from photography, it comes from, telling a story in one image or telling a story in multiple images in a sequence. So, going to school for film, going to school for photography, journalism was never really on my radar. One of the professors at my college really wanted me to be in his class because he saw that I was a good shooter, ultimately. I liked being behind the camera. I wanted to be, a director of photography, camera operator. So being behind the camera and operating the cameras and getting the shots was something I always knew how to do and something I really enjoyed. So I told him, one of the last semesters I'm here, you'll get me in your class. And I didn't know stringing existed. It's not something, shot in the dark. It exists, and people doing this job have been doing this for years, but it wasn't something that I knew like personally that like happened, and I didn't think it was a job. But November 14th of 2019, the Saugus High School shooting happened. Something told me to go, just to take photos, so I went to Central Park where the parents and the children were being reunited together. Took photos there, and one of the journalists in Santa Clarita actually, I reached out to him and he called me back and said like, hey, I'm gonna need to use your footage because I'm at the school, so just start shooting video as well. I was only shooting stills, and I was like, okay. You know, shot that, did that, and while I was there, seeing all of these, you know, camera operators for NBC, ABC, all of them, you know, shooting this large event, it made me curious as to what I could do to do that as a job, because I enjoyed shooting live events. I enjoyed shooting, like I've done LA Pride and LA Comic Con. I loved shooting things that were happening now, instead of having to plan out and diagram your shots like you do in film. Started kind of looking into it, got mentored by the journalist that used my stuff in Santa Clarita, somehow met Jason, and then met Gabe, and then realized, oh, this is actually a job, and people do this, and this is something that I find interesting and want to do. And, you know, instead of being a multimedia journalist where you cover all of these stories happening in your city and your town, I like to cover the breaking news side of it, because it's happening and you have to think quickly and think critically. And I kind of stepped into breaking news doing the Saugus High School thing first, so now it's all kind of just led up to this.
Just update, we do have the victim down here with us now. Suspect shooting is dead at the moment.
Kidnapping. That's what it is. But at least they have the victim out. Yeah, you can go.
We advised that he would be able to see his girlfriend if he surrenders peacefully. He's mentioning opening up the door.
Wow. So he's actually, according to what he's telling him over the phone, he's actually going to surrender peacefully, and he's going to come out right now. So we'll see.
He said he needs about a minute or two to gather his thoughts, dress, and he said he wants to come out. I'm going to call him back in about 2 to 4 minutes. Try to walk him out when he's still on the cell phone.
So they got to walk through him step by step by step.
The whole conversation, Joe.
You know, what they want him to do. And they, to my understanding, they've gone through it a few times already, and he continuously is asking the same questions. So supposedly he unlocked the door, but he hasn't come out. Oh,
here.
Door's open.
Hey, you guys, one hand out. 2 hands up.
Look at that. So we really don't know what that guy's wanted for. We have our theory, but theories aren't good enough. I was given the advice, you know, on a way to make money, so I used to help with large animal evacuations and wildfires, and so, you know, you get to see a little bit more than most people see during brush fires, you know, the inside of what it looks like, you know, the fire department doing their thing and getting close to the fire and whatnot. So decided to start filming it and kind of shared, you know, what that footage looked like. And people told me that I could make money doing that, so decided to get in contact with somebody who used to work with CBS, and he referred me to OnScene. And funny enough, the first time that I applied with OnScene, they actually they told me no, that they didn't have any positions open. And then, see, close to a year after, they had a posting on Instagram saying that they were looking for a photographer for the San Fernando Valley, and so I DM'd them again and ended up meeting up with them that night, and they brought me on the team. Yeah, there wasn't you know, like a passion for doing this at all. It really wasn't. It was just something that I was introduced to and thought it was cool, and it's progressed into you know, 2 years of telling stories.
So trains are actually a thing that actually got me into this job, and I would go out and do photography at the train station back when I was like a young teenager, and obviously there were other people who did the same thing, and I met a few people who also went out and watched trains, and we became friends and stuff. And in addition to that, they would go out and film these houses that would catch on fire or crazy crashes, and listen to these public safety radios and have like a million of them. And I was like, that's a interesting concept. And so it got me interested, and you know, I was like, I'm gonna go out with them for fun. And that night I actually saw a car get split in half over in East Los Angeles, and that was like my first major incident crime thing. And it was a street racing crash. Like 3 people got hurt, only 1 died at the hospital, but just the experience of being there at this crime scene that later made the news was just a surreal experience for me, and something I could like never forget. And just seeing the mayhem and the carnage from that, you know, it's horrible, but at the same time it's just intriguing, just how crazy some of these things can happen. And to go from seeing it on a TV screen to seeing it in person just really got to me. And so it sparked my interest, and I got to talking with my friends, and I mean, I found out that they did this more as like a job, and I was like, okay, cool. And I was already pretty familiar with some radio traffic from like the railroad radios and like the local sheriff frequencies around my house, because, you know, whenever I'd see that ghetto bird up in the sky, I'd think, hey, what's going on? So I'd tune into the radio, and I thought it was pretty cool listening to all that kind of stuff and being in the knowledge of what's happening. So taking something that I once did very little of at 14 and expanding it to almost like a career for my age of, because I'm only 21, so I mean, this is as close to a steady job as I'm gonna get for right now with me being in college, and the hours work out great, and it's just crazy. I never saw myself doing this. A simple railroad photography thing turning into a full-on full-time position with OnScene, and me being so successful at this job. I mean, I was able to buy this car with my own money, and that was at age 20, and not many people my age are gonna say, oh, I bought my own car with my own money already. And I bought it in full, no payments. It's my car, and I drove it home. So, and that's something that I get recognized a lot about, and I'm pretty proud to say where I'm at and how my hobby has pushed me to where I'm at now.
So one of our, I guess you could put him in our vet category. A lot of guys don't look at him because he is still kind of young, is Gabriel in Ventura County. He came on pretty young, started running calls in Ventura County, and he's been at it, God, I want to say like 10 years. It seems like it's been forever. But he came on young and has made a great career. He's taken over Ventura County, and he does his own thing out there. One of the best things I could say about Gabriel is he definitely proves that you can make a success out of this kind of job. This job is exactly what you put into it is what you get out of it. And Gabriel put a lot of work into work in Ventura County and learning the craft of stringing, and he's been very successful at it. And I'm very happy to know that he's part of On Scene. And I'm happy to say that he's a friend.
Frank 21, go ahead. 21 on 7 Sam, King 983, Eastbound 118 at Madera. And code 6, Eastbound 118 at Madera.
It's a lot of water.
Things always create like a wind tunnel. It's always blowing a lot of water, or not water, blowing air. There's no wind right now, but I'm just getting a bunch of wind from this geyser. I was gonna tell that guy, I was gonna go yell at that guy to not drive like an asshole through the water, and then I realized it was the water department.
And every time I shoot a story, it doesn't matter, you know, if it's tonight or a week ago, every time I watch older video, doesn't matter if I shot it last night, I always think that there's room for improvement. I self-critique all the time. That's very important. I look at my stuff and, you know, I can probably go back and look at the video I shot tonight and be like, wow, that's a garbage shot. Why, what was I thinking? And, you know, you go through that all the time, so when you go out the next time to shoot, you remember not to do those mistakes. Whether you repeat them or not, because I repeat them all the time, it's always good to have that on your mind, thinking, oh, my exposure was off. And, you know, it's just always good to, you're your own toughest critic, and I definitely am. I tell people all the time, oh, don't watch my video on that story, it was terrible, and they go back, it's like, dude, it was fine. This is coming from professionals, so, you know, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, because I'm not the greatest, photojournalist out there, but always try to improve yourself, no matter if it's personally or at work or with your skills. It'll always be beneficial to you. And, you know, I'll go back when I go and do my my 2019 highlight reel. I'll look back at stuff from January and just cringe. And it'll be like that for January of 2020 and however long I keep doing this. There's always room for improvement, and just always try to improve yourself, or no matter how good or bad your video is, because it's always There's always room for improvement, no matter how good you are.
Is this for everybody? No. Not at all. You have to be borderline insane, I guess you want to say, to do this job. You're parked in parking lots in some of the worst areas of the city in the middle of the night, pretty much alone. You've got yourself, your radios, your computer, and then you're going into scenes you have no idea what's going on. You're waiting for that call of a shooting or a stabbing or a fire or any kind of incident, car accident. You're rushing to go get those, so you're putting yourself even more into a more dangerous situation. And then the human side of it hits you. Seeing a mangled body, seeing a body that's been burnt, somebody that's been shot, and hearing the sound of a mother who has just lost a child. It's a scream that will never leave your memory, no matter what you want to do. It's always there. And no matter how many times you hear it, you don't get used to it.
Scenes that I've been on that I think about, and not every day, but occasionally come up in mind, or if I'm talking to somebody, because this is not a question that's not been asked before. And that's a good question, but it's difficult for me because being being in the fire side of life, working as a firefighter / paramedic for almost 40 years, and then still engaged in it. I've been to a lot more incidents than most people ever will in what they're doing. You can sit out here and string all night and go to calls, but I did it daily. I mean, I was a workhorse out there for 40 years, and I ran a lot of calls, and I saw a lot of stuff. I think one of the more difficult calls that I went on, and obviously, like I said, I've been on many, but I think one of the more difficult calls was a call that I went on, and not as a photojournalist, but just a call that I went on, was down in North Hollywood one evening or one night. A mother, 3 kids, husband at home. The mother left to go to the store, go shopping at night. She came back. She found all 3 of her kids and the husband dead from gunshots. The husband had left a note. He said, "I can't live with you. I can't live with you anymore, and I'm ending it, and I'm taking the kids with me." So that those are the kind of scenes you hate to go on. Anything that involves anybody that got so desperate that they felt they needed to end it. And it was all by gunshots. He shot all 3 kids and then took his own life. Probably the most difficult.
So, LASD Lancaster, they go in pursuit of a reckless deuce. I'm set up like down the street for a passing shot. Instead of continuing to drive, the guy runs into an innocent person going home, probably's car, flips both of them. He somehow gets out of his car that's upside down and runs away. He gets away. And, I show up, slightly after he just ran away because I was right there, and just kind of start shooting the scene. I mean, there's a car that's flipped over. Fire is trying to get this lady driver out. LASD starting to put up crime scene tape, set up a perimeter to try to find the guy. And, they pull the chick out, they put her in the ambulance, and they take off. all right, that's normal. That's a normal expanded traffic collision scene. You know, they get him out immediately. Didn't really think anything of it, and you know, shoot it, send it in, feed it, whatever, done. Go to sleep. Next day, wake up, and a local newspaper for the Antelope Valley had put it as a fatal. So I'm like, okay, the chick must have, you know, looked worse than I thought she did and passed away. Reading through it, it's like a soon-to-be mother and her unborn child have both died. Okay, I update the story with that, do all the calls again, call the stations again, and figure, you know, okay, now that story's done. I'm never gonna touch that story again. You know, we film stuff, we never think of these stories ever again. Either a few days later or a week later, I'm not sure, one of the news stations called me and was like, hey, we want you to go shoot a vigil in Lancaster at, I think it's 10th Street West and J8. I'll probably never forget that intersection. But they were like, we want you to go, you know, film this vigil, and it's for that crash. It's for the mom, the soon-to-be mom, and the, you know, the unborn child that passed away. All right, so I, you know, go up there and start filming, and it didn't hit me till I was there, literally talking to her mother, that, like, I'm literally one of the, I didn't think about when I was shooting either. I'm literally one of the people who has seen her daughter alive in, like, her last ones. Like, I am one of the last people to see this chick alive. And I've never, like, normally you don't have dialogue with people who's passed away's families doing this job. We go and shoot the scene, and then we're done. You know, we never think about the stories again. We never have to go back. We, you know, if it's somewhere that a lot of stuff happens, then sure, we'll probably have another story there. But ultimately, you normally don't see the effect on these people. But, I mean, they lit a ton of candles. You know, I talked to a lot of the family.
Good evening. 471 Adam is on the air.
Rick's now here. But, you know, I talked to a lot of the family, and it's something I never thought I would do. And you know, her mom, you know, actually asked me, you know, when I was leaving, like, hey, I have a question for you. It's regarding, you know, were you on the original scene? And I was like, yeah, you know, I filmed it and whatever. And she was like, I need you to answer something that you've probably never had someone ask you before. And I was like, okay, you know, what is it? And she's like, did my daughter look like she was in pain? And I, like, sat there and I was like, I am probably one of the last few people who saw her daughter alive. And I, like, looked at her, I was like, no, she looked like she was asleep. She was peaceful. And she just starts crying right in front of me. And I was like, I mean, as a stringer, as a photojournalist, people see you as not having emotions. You still do. I mean, it's part of the job. Like, I felt terrible for her, but, I mean, being able to, I guess, in a sense, she, like, after a while, she, like, stood up and she was like, the fact that you told me that makes me feel 1,000 times better. She's like, nothing can bring her back. Nothing can change the fact that, like, we'll never get to meet her soon-to-be daughter or my grandchild. But to know that, like, that's what I needed. And I was like, I'm like, grateful that I was able to give that to her, but it's also, like, that is hopefully the only story I'll ever have come full circle. To where I'm on the scene, seeing, I mean, they weren't doing CPR on her. She was alive. Seeing someone, you know, we see people die all the time, but, like, realizing that in a lot of these situations, you're the last person to see these people alive. That's, like, the first time it hit me. And to this day, I still don't think they found the guy who hit her. I think he got away. So that adds a little bit more of, like, anger, in a sense, for her family. I mean, he got away, and that's just kind of how it is, but for me to be able to give her mom that, like, closure that she needed, I mean, it adds a whole new level of importance to this job, and to me doing this job. So that's my story of the one thing I filmed that came full circle, and hopefully that's the last one, but it sadly probably won't be. So.
You know, there's a few nights that really stand out, like, out of the 2 years that I've been doing this. The biggest one probably would be, and it's really not even a a legitimate story. It's, you know, it was just the time I happened to be right there when the call came out. It was a female who was threatening to jump off the freeway, and looked to my right, and, you know, sure as shit, she's sitting right there, you know, on the ledge, like trying to, she's hung over, you know, the ledge. And so I stopped and, you know, called 911 and made sure that we had people, you know, coming or at least close, trying to figure out what to do here. And, you know, walked up, tried talking to her, and she didn't want to talk. And there happened to be another guy. The person who initially called 911 was on the scene. And so I pulled him to the side, and he had already had conversation with her. So I told him, you know, hey, like, she's willing to talk to you, keep talking to her, you know, just keep her distracted, keep her calm. And I told him, you know, if she tries to make a move, you grab an arm and I grab an arm, and we're gonna hold her. And so we were on the same level, and LAPD showed up underneath the overpass to shut down the street, and they started talking to her, and she was getting really agitated. And mind you, we're on the busy 405 during rush hour traffic, so, you know, she's yelling back and forth with them, and it's not really going well. And she stood up, got on the freeway again, and jumped back on top of the ledge and started lunging, and him and I at the same time looked at each other and grabbed her arm and tossed her back onto the freeway. And thankfully, CHP and LAPD were right there when it happened. And, you know, as soon as she hit the pavement, they were already starting to tackle her. You know, they were able to take her into custody, and they called her an ambulance and, you know, brought her out to a hospital to get evaluated and stuff. So that definitely was the biggest, like, incident that I've been to that has really stood out. And actually that one was the only incident that I can recall ever to give me nightmares. Hearing that lady screaming and crying, you know, let me go, let me die. You know, it was tough to deal with for a little bit.
There's been a lot of bad nights, but I think to this day, the worst night I've had on this job was responded to a reported structure fire over on Manchester. I want to say it was right off of Hoover or somewhere like that. It was a small bungalow apartment unit. And as we got on scene, we were hearing people yelling about some kids being inside the apartment unit. And luckily, the firefighters were able to get inside, and they were able to bring out all the kids. But the kids are the hardest part, and watching these firefighters run down the street with these kids in their arms. There was one point where they were doing CPR on probably like a 3-year-old, 4-year-old in the middle of the street, trying to bring them back to life. Got a firefighter running, holding this little girl in her arms, and you can see the burnt skin hanging off of her. It was sad seeing all these kids. I think it was like 3 or 4 kids total. All of them were hurt. All of them were close to death. And you don't forget that. You don't. The incidents involving kids are probably the hardest to deal with, because this was a mother who went out for some reason, left her kids alone, and when she got back, the house was on fire. And it hit me really hard being a father to see those kids hurt like that. And maybe the mother was in shock. I don't know what it was, but I remember before leaving, as the kids were being taken to the hospital by the ambulances. Her sitting on a wall outside the apartment, very calm, smoking a cigarette, as if nothing had happened. And to this day, that has stayed with me, and I think it'll stay with me the rest of my life.
I was on the Western and Slauson when 3 beeps came out. And at the time, those 3 beeps, it had paused, meaning that they were trying to gather, you know, how many shooters were actively at the scene, or if there was an active shooter. So I could tell by the distress of the operator and the pausing of the 3 beeps and then coming back that this call was an active shooter. Now, mind you, I'm right down the street from the actual crime scene. And as they dispatched the units to basically come into the scene, they dispatched a paramedic also, you know. So we were all sort of like rushing to get to the scene before, you know, they actually put up tape. So I had to actually beat, you know, the paramedics and the arriving police officers before they actually put up the crime scene tape. And when I got there, there was this chilling fact that there was an active shooter, and that this guy had called already and said he had shot his wife. So he had already told the 911 dispatcher that. So I wasn't, and at the time I was wearing a bulletproof vest, but I wasn't ready to actually enter a scene where there was an active shooter present. You know, all the years of my training, this was my first time encountering this type of situation. So when I got out the car, of course LAPD was, you know, racking and cracking their guns, telling everybody to get back and, you know, getting into position in front of the house. You see the door open. And when the door swung open, you know, they yelled out the commands, put your hands up, come out, blah, blah, blah. He comes out so calmly with his hands up and walks into the arms of LAPD. But it was the look that I got from him when I zoomed in and actually seen how somebody so evil could do such a thing to his wife. And his kids were there screaming, you know, save their mom, you know, and wasn't really saying too much to him. And he had this look on his face of evil look that I've never seen on a person that had just committed a first-degree murder. Thank God he didn't shoot the kids. And I found out and realized that was Michael Chase, a guy that was an actor on The Shield, you know, Emmy-winning TV series that ran for a very long time. And at the time, I didn't know it was him until I got the call from Brent, who told me that this is a big story and it's about to go national because that is the actor Michael Chase.
So right now we are outside the residence of actor Michael Chase, where on May 19th he allegedly shot and killed his wife April, who was 40 years old. It occurred at about 8:30 p.m. while their 2 children, both under the age of 10, were in the house.
Okay, I tell you, on the night that I came, I was standing right over here. You could kind of walk with me. I was off to the side right here. Paramedics were taking her, bringing the gurneys up to the door right here. And I tell you that how easy you can go from just a normal person to just being on every channel. So that was one of the craziest scenes that I can say that stuck with me Not only because he was a celebrity, just how cold he was of a calculated killer, you know, and to roll up on something like that was breathtaking. The second one was the same incident of sunny day, March 31st. Typical day of Crenshaw takeover. Hey, you know, you got your traffic units out there, motor units pulling over cars because it's Crenshaw takeover day. So I wasn't really looking to get too much, but just like some donuts and some police chases and whatever have you. But again, these 3 beeps came exactly the same way the last scene that I, just told you about. And there was a pause in it. But this time, there was a repeat of not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 ambulances. A repeat, when I say she said it 3 times, to dispatch 4 ambulances to the corner of Crenshaw and Slauson. Now, mind you, I'm on King and Crenshaw, going northbound. And when I heard that call, all I know is I went from 0 to 60 in a matter of 5 seconds and ran every light I could to get down to Crenshaw and Slauson. Now, mind you, I never thought that it would be Nipsey Hussle that was shot, because normally the shop is not open on Sunday. So I didn't run down there and bolt down there for that. I ran down there and did 0 to 60 because of 4 ambulances. Dispatch means there is a major, major shooting I'm about to roll up on. So when I get there, I noticed that the shooting wasn't at the gas station like I expected, the Shell gas station. It was in the parking lot of the Marathon clothing store. So I do know this area is a rough area. I do know it's not friendly when you film there. And I also know to be careful and respect people, because I do have to come and work back into the community. So I had to be very cautious at that point to do the correct thing, which was to find out who it was, what happened, and was I able to film that scene. So I had to make a calculated risk to film that scene because it was at the Marathon clothing store. And if it was Nipsey Hussle, then I know the story was going to be big, and I mean very big. And it ended up being one of the biggest stories across the nation. A rapper being killed and shot in front of his clothing store in his community by his own friend.
You almost have to have a button where once you're getting to a scene, you turn it on, and inside your mind it becomes a movie, or a comic book, or something that as soon as you get back to the vehicle, you can shut that switch off and you're back to real life. Even though in your mind you know everything that just happened is 100% real, you have to look at it as a movie. But the human part of you realizes that you're able to shut that off, but the family that's involved in that situation can't shut it off, and they're going to be living with it for the rest of their lives. And it's just, you need to be really strong mentally, or like I said, partially insane to be able to come out here and be successful at doing this job.
You know, being able to go to scenes that are really raw and really dramatic, and they're real. I mean, this is stuff that's happening every night. I mean, for crashes, I mean, people die in crashes all the time, and brush fires take out neighborhoods, and it's stuff that people hope that they never have to see. Approaching it, for me, with a more artistic side, looking at it and saying, okay, I have to document, you know, this car that hit this pole and it got cut in half. You can film it like a bystander just standing there, you know, at the same angle, whatever, or you can get those shots, but also get a little bit more artistic with it and get that more cinematic look. And you have to find a balance. You can't just have all cinematic. You can't have all just normal shots, because then, you know, your stuff's not going to stand out. So for me, it's that challenge of looking at something raw, dramatic, that people, you know, it's literally the worst day of these people's lives. And not only for me, it's like filming it and doing that justice, but like showing, in a sense, like the, it sounds corny, but like the beauty behind everything, you know? I mean, half these scenes, you walk up and they're dark as heck and they look terrible because it's a crash, but finding the angle that maybe just, in a sense, makes it look cool to kind of draw the viewer in, to actually care about the story, that's kind of what I like to do. So it's not the adrenaline rush for sure. It's the more artistic expression and the challenge to do that with something that's so like raw and breaking.
Engine squad 131.
Alright. Just you know, be careful on the freeway.
Yep.
Especially since it's clearly a mess already. The fire department's here, so that's good. Really don't need to get into an accident here. There's your motorcyclist right there. Right behind us. So that's not good.
350. The people is on this side.
Fuck, dude, this guy's getting
50,
hit.
we're going to be
Left
off Mentorship, off the northbound 5, 2805 Paul, X-ray Adam, 349.
Lankerson off the northbound 5, Paul, X-ray Adam 349, go to 27.
Try to I'll let CHP shut down the freeway before we do anything, just because, you know, there's a lot of cars flying by right now, and a lot of distractions with the lights, so I don't really want to get hit. So we'll let them shut down the freeway, and then we'll get out and start filming. Almost had that one on camera.
good. One second, got everybody here. I already talked to the fellow in the back there. If you don't mind, number one, I have an active scene right now. I don't know exactly where all evidence is. From their car, where he's at, to the front of your car, to this lane line. Please keep it right in there. Try not to wander around. Anytime you go out, wear the vest. Anything?
If I was going to leave? My dream has always been to join the LAPD and work alongside my dad and friends that I made in this department. It's kind of a complicated process, and with the way the world's going right now, it's not exactly the best career to be in right now. A lot of people don't like cops, so it's one of those things that's on my mind that, I don't know if I really want to be called a killer or, the stuff that they have to deal with for the rest of my life. So my other option, I would love to work for a station and do this, full-time, like on a salary and whatnot. It would be, I really enjoy doing this job. I love being able to see what's really going on in the world and interacting with people that I get to meet people from all different neighborhoods throughout the city and, talk to them about their concerns about, what's going on in their neighborhood and whatnot. And I see people in their worst points and sometimes even at their best points. So, I really enjoy that ability. And I would love to work for a station if there was a position that opened up. I'd definitely, be interested in doing that. I could definitely see myself raising a family and continuing. I wouldn't necessarily say being a stringer, but still filming news. Stringing is it's tough. It's very hit or miss. It's never consistent. And this year with COVID, it's really screwed us up. So we don't get to, we're not making as much money this year as we were last year at this point. So we'll kind of see what happens. But I definitely, working for a station, I could see myself raising kids and having a family doing this job and still filming news.
I'd like to keep doing this. I mean, I'm 21, I'm a little bit younger, so coming into it now, being young, I have a lot of years left to do other things. And this is something I truly enjoy, and it keeps me out shooting, it keeps me out filming, and that's ultimately what I really love is I just really love just filming stuff. That's what I like to do. I like shooting things, I would go to events just to do it, just for fun. And, ultimately, I don't know if a career in law enforcement is where I'm going to go, because that's where a lot of people are going to go in this job. But, if I do, it would probably be on their more media side, like a PIO or just like an LASD photographer or something. I don't even know if that's a job. But for now, this is where I want to be, and this is what I love to do. And the passion for it, even though, I've been doing it a lot, has not at all changed. And the moment that the love I have for this kind of starts to dwindle, I'll think of moving into maybe something else. But for now, it's there and it's strong, and I'm gonna just run with it for as long as I can, because it's really fun. I enjoy it. And with this team of people, with this team of guys, ultimately backing me up and being behind me and taking me on so early, I mean, you can't pass up an opportunity like that. You have to go through it and prove that you made the right decision. So I still need to prove it.
It's a great job. However, I don't see myself pursuing this as a lifelong career. Only because it's just so challenging. It's not steady pay. I'm commission based. Basically, I have to get a story in order to get paid. If I don't get a story, then tough luck. So, I mean, there's weeks where it's great, and then there's weeks where I wish I could be just sitting at home sleeping instead. But you just gotta push and make sure you stay out, and because you never know when the next big thing's gonna happen, the next big news story thing's gonna happen. And I mean, I love sharing to the world what's happening in their communities, and for me to miss out on that over sleep, that sounds pretty weak to me. So you know, it's a fun thing to do for now, but it's not something that I can continue with, mainly because it's just so challenging being out there, and with radio encryption, with competition, and just all the other little factors here and there, and gas and whatnot, and it's just tough, you know. I can't see myself continuing with this. And as a kid, I've always seen myself as a career with law enforcement. So that's what I'm in college for right now. And as long as I'm in college, then I'll be out training. But as soon as I'm done with college, then it's time to look for a career that'll sustain for me. My family is okay about it. They don't really say much. I don't really talk too much of my family. I mean, they all care for me and stuff. It's just that I'm so able to live on my own now that it's just like, you know, they really don't care that I'm out there. The job is dangerous, yes, but I mean, they let me do it, and they don't really talk bad about it, so I mean, I don't really see a concern. And I mean, they are a little concerned about my career of law enforcement in the future, but that's just something that you can't pull me away from. That's my dream.
As far as how long I'm going to continue with what I'm doing, with my passion in it, as long as I can. I can't put a number on years because for health reasons, that could affect what I'm doing. I'm not in the best of health as I've gotten older and had some disabilities come along my way from the job that I did for so many years. But I'm still involved, and I can't say that even 5 years down the road, I'm still going to be, you know, hitting the pedal and going out there doing what I'm doing. I would love to hope, or I'd love to say that in 5 years, or maybe even 10 years, that I still have the stamina and the desire to go out there and be the professional photojournalist that I am. And for others, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. I have the ability to not be concerned about making the money to support my life, which isn't, as I stated earlier on, isn't necessarily the case with a lot of the photojournalists that are out there. They live off what they sell. And if you don't get a good day, or you don't get a good hit, or whatever, you're not making that money. And that can be very difficult. So I definitely have an advantage that way. It's just, what's my health going to do down the road? Because of an injury that I sustained, and because of the surgery and everything what followed that, I'm still able to walk and talk. I'm still able to put the camera up and shoot pictures, video, whatever I'm doing at that moment in time. It's just I have to be more careful at what I'm doing. My step isn't as positive as it used to be. I can't go running up these hills. So with that being said, it's just difficult to put any number or anything. 5 years from now, I just want to be above ground and be able to continue on.
How do I see myself in the next 5 years? If my health is good, I'm going to still be out here on the streets. I don't, I'm 46 this year. I still feel like I'm 18. I don't know what it's going to come to. Things are different. I mean, now it's just an SD card. You put it in your computer and you can send it right to our website. Who knows what's going to happen next? I don't know. Equipment and gear and electronics are always changing every year. So I'm really excited to see what's going to come out. Even on cameras, I'm a Sony guy, so I'm really curious to see what's going to come out with Sony. If things stay the same, I'm okay with that. There's nothing wrong with change if, we have to change things. But, that's a part of life. There's nothing wrong with change. I'm going to continue this job until I can. I guess, things are great now. I can't predict the future. I don't know what's going to come about. I guess, my wife's going to retire probably in about 7-8 years. I don't know what's going to happen. I would love to get out of California. I really want to go to Texas. But I guess you just can't predict the future. Just got to see what happens. Go with the roll.
Do you see yourself doing this in 5 years?
Oh, I hope not. There's money to be made elsewhere doing other things with the skills that I have. I just hope that my next office is similar similar to a certain degree. Maybe instead of having wheels, it'll have rotor blades, but we'll see about that.
Would you miss it?
I wouldn't stop doing this if I had a full-time, well, this is full-time, but if I had a stable salary job, I wouldn't put off doing this. I know that as long as I live now, I'll always drive a fully equipped police vehicle with radios and a laptop. With the way that I drive and the way you get used to driving, you can't go back to regular driving. It's just, you can't, whatever job I have in the future has to be something similar to this, because I'd probably just die in an office. It has to be an office on wheels or in the air or anywhere else that isn't under fluorescent lighting. I have to be out in the field. I have to be where the action is. That's just who I am. That's what got me here. I wanted to be a news reporter in front of the camera. Now I'm behind the camera, not wanting to narrate my stories. I shoot the video, I give it to the stations, and it's off to the races for them. I just do the dirty work.
What do you see yourself in 5 years? Do you see yourself still doing this, or what's the future hold for Nash? You're going to keep going?
Oh my God, if Steve can do this longer than anybody, I see Steve as my father. I birthed me out of his literally his nutsack. Anybody who cannot do this job as long as Steve and learn from Steve and realize the senior status that Steve has in the streets, just in life, period. I see myself being Steve at 60 doing this job, yes. Thanks to Steve, there will always be a Nash. And I don't know if he never heard that, but everybody looks at him as our father, and what we want to be at 60 years old, jumping out of cars. Yes, I see myself doing this up until 60.
Part of me is, I think I'm getting close to retiring from it. I think the hardest part is not wanting it to be over. I've done it for so long, and I've taken time off at times and tried other things, and sitting at a desk and doing just work on the computer and stuff just doesn't satisfy that need. I'm hoping. I was going to retire last year, and I got talked into staying. So I don't know. I'm close. It could be It could be a month. It could be a year. But as long as I still have the drive and the craziness to do this, and the will to keep, I think my big thing is to keep On Scene alive. I'm going to fight till the very end until I just can't do it anymore. So, like I said, it could be a month, it could be a year, it could be 5 years. But I'm pretty sure it will happen soon.
Well, I believe the type of person that could do this is somebody who's lucky like me, who stumbled on it and realized that they have a passion that they didn't know they had until they get out here and risk their lives, for a photo, for a video, or for an interview. To be on the front lines, the only people that can do this job is people that feel like they want to make a change in their community and help themselves deal with whatever mental, obstacles that they want to face in life. It definitely takes a lot of discipline to do this job. It definitely takes a lot of hunting skills. You have to have a intuition to hunt. You have to have the ability to read signs. You have to have the ability to read body movements. You have to almost read police officers, the victim, and the suspect to know what and where exactly you want to shoot. People who get into this field now, they have the cell phones, or they have a little small camera that they, blog with, or a GoPro. And the thing that's different from when stringers do it is that we have stabilizing cameras that stabilize the shots. We have a 10-second per frame understanding on how to shoot each frame that we turn into news stations. We have an experience of being put in multiple scenes, but it all took time. So as long as a person gets in this field and is willing to take the time to learn how to do this, and they have the ability to hunt and not become a part of the story, but tell the story.
But the general stringers that are out there, these young kids that get a car and they have a video camera, or they buy one, or they use their cell phones, whatever, and the media in general goes into incidents without having any background in what they're doing. Yes, they know photojournalism maybe, but they're looking for the flame. They want to go in and see the dragon, as I call it. And they want to get close to it. So the closer they think they get, the better the picture. That's not true. Sometimes the wide shot is the key, not diving into it. And like I said earlier, you've got to be aware of, you go into a brush fire, you've got trees falling, you've got wires coming down, and they're oblivious to things like that. Structure fires, you have things that happen around you. And they don't pay attention. They're not looking at hose lines. They're not looking at what firemen are doing, throwing ladders, doing the job that the firemen do. Same on medical calls. You're on a traffic accident. If you've ever been there and seen a car light up because you're not paying attention and there's gas on the ground, you have to be aware of situations like that. And we call that situational awareness. For me, and watching what these people do out there, they don't have it. That's my big push to all of them, is to learn. But who are they going to learn from? They learn from people like me who come out and ride along and learn maybe the business a little bit and see what's going on, and they see it from a different perspective, because my mindset is geared towards the safety of what I'm doing out there. I don't want to get hurt on the fire ground or in an accident scene or at a shooting scene. Some guys put on their vests. Oh, that's great. They're bulletproof vests. Well, like I say to some of these guys, why are you putting on a vest? If you're putting on a vest, you're too close, okay? If you go to a brush fire and you put on a backpack and you've got a fire shelter, which if you're not aware, it's a thing that you pull out as a last ditch effort at a brush fire if you're going to be overrun by flames. Creates a little tent that you go into and protects you, kind of, sort of, from the flames as the fire blows over you. Why are you even there? Why do you need to wear a shelter? Because you shouldn't be anywhere near that situation. But again, situational awareness. Firemen, they're getting paid to do that. They're getting paid to be there, to do that job and be on the line, putting out the fire. Not the media. The media is supposed to be back, capturing the event from a distance. And I'll just throw this in. That's why these companies make zoom lenses. So you don't have to be right up next to the dragon.
Talking about small cameras, I have an NX80 Sony camera, and it's so different now, filming with something like this. I mean, this is almost like $3,000 right here. When I started, I had a huge shoulder camera, Betacam. I mean, the thing weighed like 20, 30 pounds, I think, with all the big batteries. So now, I mean, it's just like, you can go running with this. This is pretty badass, and you can do this job. I could shoot a documentary with this, or whatever. It's phenomenal. I mean, you can, low shots, there's so much you can do, and this is 4K. And then I have my dead animal here. But yeah, I love it. It's awesome. Everybody's got an iPhone. It's out there. You just pray to God that, they don't have a better shot and the news doesn't take it over, the guy that is experienced and has been out for years. But it happens. But see, like what I end up doing is, if somebody has that great video and I have like $100 and I will buy that video from you. It's my Hideaway 100. And this is I keep this just because of situations like that. And I've done it before. Somebody might have it and, nothing's for free in life. But yeah, it helps. That's why I say keep a $100 bill, because that really, that'll help you someday.
The newer generation coming in, they just don't have. The worst thing I think I've heard one of the newest guys say is, I'm only out here for fun. And I want to look at them and tell them, this isn't a playground. This is real life. If you're out here playing around, somebody's going to get hurt. It might not be you, but it could be somebody else. And I just want these new guys to know this isn't a game at all. We might joke around afterwards. We might, go out to dinner or whatever, some of the veteran guys, and talk about what we've gone through. But honestly, to me, I think you need to want to come out here and earn the older guys' respect and listen to what they have to say. Because we're out here doing this for so long. And the reason we've done it for so long is because we've respected the people in front of us, and we're taught and learned from them of how to handle situations. And that's what these young guys need to do, is they need to reach out to the older guys and say, hey, what is it I'm doing? And how can I be better? And believe it or not, us older guys, we like to talk. And we might not be the nicest at times. We'll tell you what we think. And you need to be ready for it, because if we think you're acting like an ass, we're going to tell you you're acting like an ass. So my advice to them, look us up. Myself, Zach, Brent, Howard, Gabriel. all these guys that have been at this for a long time, you might not like us, you might not respect us, but remember, we've been here and we've seen it and we've done it. And if we can keep you from making the same mistakes we've made, we're more than happy to help.
But no one just getting in overnight would just jump out and run a call without making a mistake. It's gonna happen. It's how you bounce back from those mistakes. And it's how you get up and how you listen to the officers, listen to your trainer who's telling you what to do next time when that happens. And you'll find out more and more you go out that it's an adventure, it is a journey, and it is what you want to be, you know, for the rest of your life until the camera stops rolling. And that's Code 20.
Other than that, I don't think too much has changed though. I mean, I got more gray in my beard, but that's about it.